Education is a valuable component to any society, yet it is a complex system that is often overshadowed by a multitude of issues. Coupled with the integration of technology, the expectations of learning seem too large for many educators to grasp. In fact, if you were to have discussions of what is necessary in learning, statements can seem dark and depressing, blocking the beauty that education is intended to offer students. In my mind, learning can be as captivating as the colors of a rainbow. Those colors should be vibrant and enticing, drawing learners to concepts like moths to a flame. Technology further enhances the rainbow, giving users new tools to blend, shade, and transform how we connect to learning experiences. Indeed, our educational journey should be a collection of pieces that allow us to showcase our talents in new ways. Yet, one must ask, what if learning was a color in today's digital age? Does your palette contain the necessary shades to move instruction forward? Although I've been involved with education since 1999, I believe that my understanding of learning has shifted since the birth of my daughter in 2017. It has become less about the learning of theories from years past and more towards the excitement of knowledge that I see in her every single day. This unlimited prism of colors through the eyes of a 2-year-old toddler. My passion for education has always been centered around learning for all children. Yet, the means of how concepts can be presented are more vivid than ever before. My daughter is teaching me that I need to inspire learning in new and creative ways each and every day, not just to keep her entertained, but also to keep her educated and feel like learning is not a threatening, intimidating environment. In the past, knowledge was delivered in terms of right and wrong, very black and white. But what if learning was a color? How colorful is our educational system and our desire to learn new things? My fear is that there is a lack of color in education. No, not on those traditional political lines that we see in our current existence with regards to socioeconomic status, diversity, environmental factors, and so forth. I'm talking about this idea of color in the terms of limitations that are placed on creativity and innovation, those parameters that typically inspire learners to move beyond the traditional frameworks of understanding. When you add technology, it further challenges us to acknowledge the doors that have yet to be opened while exposing those that need to be closed. The natural question becomes, what colors would need to be represented in a digital learning and leadership environment? In this, I am going to be very unconventional and pull from the great philosopher, my daughter, who has so fascinated with these balls that I have in our home that she plays and she never wants to have one dominant color in the group. As a matter of fact, she gets really fussy if it's too many purples or yellows or green. And I thought about that in just basic educational terms of as we continue to grow and expand our own understanding of what students and learners in society will need from us as educators for years to come, are we gathering the proper tools and techniques that allow us to be colorful and to provide a rich, diverse experience for students when we don't really know what education could and should look like going forward? I selected 6 terms and 6 colors to represent my philosophy of digital learning and leadership. The first one would be the color red, representing humanity because I want people to remember that even as we're making multiple advances in technology, whether it's distance learning or augmented and virtual realities, that we are still users at the end of the day. And I don't want my students and even future educators to lose sight of the relationships that we need to maintain as we develop new learning paradigms. My fear is that if we lose those connections, we may ultimately lose ourselves. The color orange is a fun color for me, and I think it reminds me to be flexible. We know that technology is always changing, and that can be very intimidating for teachers, trainers, and administrators. But for our students, that's a really exciting thing because life is ever changing. So that color orange reminds us to stay alert and aware and make sure that we are doing our part to remain lifelong learners. The color yellow for me represents curiosity. And again, when I think about my daughter, she's so open about being inquisitive. And I think as adults, we oftentimes think that being curious is a dark or a secretive gesture. But actually, being curious oftentimes leads to enlightenment and new ideas. And so for me, I wanted to have that represented through the color yellow so that we can continue to explore beyond the rules of learning. Then the color green for entrepreneurship. A lot of times people associate with green with money, but I think of entrepreneurship as personal growth because I want my learners and even my future educators to gain value for learning and producing new knowledge sets for others. Thinking about learning as a brand and making sure that the content and the instruction that you produce is of top notch, top quality. Blue for me represents accountability because I do feel that as we tackle and explore and integrate new tools into our learning kit, that we need to be responsible users of technology and also be accountable for how our instruction influences our personal and professional health. It is a cyclical process that if we are healthy and engaging in our own professional growth, that others will oftentimes tackle and model those same attributes. So I want to make sure that I'm accountable to not only deliver engaging in content, but I want to make sure I'm modeling it and just basically practice what I preach. And finally, purple represents for me relevancy because I want to give education the value it deserves in every single setting, whether it's face to face or online. I want to make sure that my content is always something that is food for the mind, body, and the soul, pulling from foundational resources and still honoring our paths of where we have been, but recognizing that our instruction still needs to be relevant for where we still seek to go. Personally, I want to make sure that my instructional strategies are a beautiful mosaic of colors. That as a teacher, that I am not heavily on being relevant and in that purple shade, that I forget to be curious and invite new tools and resources in my classroom. I want to make sure that I'm flexible, but also putting forth a brand of instruction that I can stand behind and that my students are proud of at the end of each semester. Ultimately, my goal is to incorporate the shades of the digital age into my instructional strategies, identifying the blends that harvest creativity and innovation in the classroom and beyond.